Yo, what's good? It's Josh again with the Blacker Than Black podcast, where it's always real, where we don't concede. And today, the truth will be revealed. So I'm back in my dorm room again. We were supposed to have an interview this week, but of course we didn't get that all situated out. So hopefully we have one next week. But we always adapt on Blacker Than Black. So this episode is going to be another Bible study. It is very interesting how this idea came about. I was just doing my regular thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna start talking about the Bible. And so we did it for the first episode of this past season, this season 2 that we're currently in. And it got a lot of great feedback. And so we're going to continue this thing in the midst of us talking about sports, talking about every single thing that we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about everything on here. So this is just one segment, and I'm glad that the bulk of these first 2 episodes will talk heavily about some of the stuff that I've been learning this summer, some of the stuff that I've encountered this summer, and then just a reflection of the past, and then look forward to the future. So today I wanted to introduce this story in the Bible about the 10 young women are the 10 virgins, right? 10 girls. And so I really wanted to talk about it because I had touched upon this. I had read upon it a little bit because I love the book of Matthew. I love the New Testament, especially the Gospels. I love it, right? So I had started touching up upon Matthew, just reading over, especially when Jesus walked on water. That, have to say that for another time. But today I was reminded of the story of the 10 girls because as I was headed last Saturday to go see the Mountaintop play, where it talks about the night before Dr. King's assassination. I was headed to go see the play. And then we saw the play and we rode the MARTA. And if you don't go to school in Atlanta or you've never been to Atlanta, then you probably don't know what the MARTA is. But we had this joke amongst the students. They say like it's moving Africans rapidly through Atlanta. And so it's like the public transportation. And so we ride the MARTA to a lot of our stuff, especially, some people are scared, but I'm not. So I take the MARTA all the time. But for the first time I had gone to a play in Atlanta, we went to see the Mountaintop. And so we went to see the Mountaintop, 10 out of 10. It needed some work, but it was a wonderful play. Like to encapsulate all the thoughts of Dr. King the night before he was assassinated. Amazing. 10 out of 10. But what struck me was as we were headed back and we got on the MARTA, I was tired. And I really wasn't. My back was hurting. I didn't feel like talking. But it was this guy. He didn't look the cleanest. He didn't have it all together, right? But I sat down, back was hurting, I'm tired, and he looks at me. Now, my freshman year roommate, I had on this shirt my aunt got me when she went out of the country. So my freshman year roommate, if he's listening to this, I specifically wanted to talk about this. He said I looked like a Muslim. Then he said I looked like a Hindu in this shirt. And so I'm sitting across from this guy. And he says, you just look like you know Jesus. And so then he also goes on to say, do you know him? And I said, yes, sir. I go to church faithfully. I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be as close to Jesus as I possibly can. And so we started talking more about it. And so as we went along, as the MARTA kept going, we had a few stops to get where we were going. As the MARTA kept riding, passed me this book as he was getting ready to get off. Now, this book holds multiple different stories from throughout the Bible. And it really struck me because God can really use anybody at any given point in time. And so this is why I want to talk about 10 girls. And I'm going to read it out of here, even though it comes from Matthew chapter 25, verses 1 through 13. And so I really want to talk about it from out of here because I like the way this reads. It breaks it down a little easier too. It reads like this. At that time, God's kingdom will be like 10 girls who went to wait for the bridegroom. They took their lamps with them. Listen closely. 5 of the girls were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish girls took their lamps with them, but they did not take extra oil for the lamps. The wise girls took their lamps and more oil in jars. When the bridegroom was very late, the girls could not keep their eyes open, and they all fell asleep. At midnight, someone announced, "The bridegroom is coming. Come and meet him." Then all the girls woke up. They made their lamps ready, but the foolish girls said to the wise girls, "Give us some of your oil. The oil in our lamps is all gone." The wise girls answered, "No, the oil we have might not be enough for all of us, but go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." So the foolish girls went to buy oil. While they were gone, the bridegroom came. The girls who were ready went in with the bridegroom to the wedding feast. Then the door was closed and locked. Next chapter portion of it reads like this. Later, the other girls came. They said, Sir, open the door to let us in." But the bridegroom answered, "Certainly not. I don't even know you." And it closes like this. "So always be ready. You don't know the day or the time when the Son of Man will come." All right. So I really wanted to talk about 2 key words. Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. So when we think about the words be ready, we hear all these times, at school, they always tell us to be early is to be on time, that whole spiel. But when I'm thinking about be ready in this instance, I'm reminded of when I played basketball at Reigns, and my coach would always say, "I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and don't have it." And the reason that I'm thinking of this is because when we used to play basketball, we used to go through progressions in practice. We used to go through all these different things. And some of us would be like, "Man, why we got to do this every freaking day? Why we got to do this? Why we got to learn these moves? Why we got to learn this?" And then we had this one drill that we all hated doing. One drill, none of us like doing it because we did it every single day. It became tiring. But the reason that we needed to learn that drill is because inside of our defenses that we were running, that was the foundation. So when we had the foundation, it was easier to run the defense when it was time for game time, which is why the offense didn't know how to react to what we were about to run against them. And so when I'm thinking about this passage in Matthew about the 10 girls, now I'm going to read it from the actual Bible. I'm going to come home with the actual Bible. And so when I'm thinking about the passage about these 10 girls, you had 5 on one hand. 5 were wise, and on the other hand, 5 were foolish. 5 were wise, and 5 were foolish. So the girls who were wise, they took extra oil with their lamps. The ones who were foolish didn't. And so the significance of this story is to be ready, because we don't know when that time is going to come and we need extra oil in the tank. To give you a better example, it's like this with a car. I always thought about it. I used to, when I was back at home, I would drive to practice. I would drive to my games. I would drive to these different places, especially when my mom didn't feel like taking me. Mom, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. But I would drive to these different places, and my mom would always say, "Josh, make sure you got some gas in the car, son. Make sure you got gas in the car." And I'd be like, I'll just get it afterwards. I'll get it afterwards. And so one time I looked at the tank and it was running low. And so I thought about what my mom said. Had I got it, I wouldn't have had it to stop because I already would have had it, but I didn't get it. So therefore I needed it. And so when we just have to get something, go ahead and do it. That's what this story is telling us. Go ahead and do what you're supposed to do. So when you need it, you don't have to worry about a single thing. You have to be ready. We have to be ready because we don't know the day or the hour when the Son of Man is coming. So we must be on our P's and Q's. And I like how this story not only touches on be ready of how we need to have something done in ahead of time, but it's also telling us to get our souls right. Get your soul right. I struggle with it myself. Now, while I won't go through each struggle in my life, I have struggled with so much to the point I couldn't even look at my own self. And that's why this story is so significant, because it doesn't just talk to the lowest man who's at the bottom of the pit, but it talks to the highest man who's the CEO of that company. It talks to every single person, because at the end of the day, every man shall bow and every tongue shall confess. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that he is Lord. And so it's so critical for us to just realize the importance of getting our souls right. Because when we have our souls right, we have nothing else to worry about. And that's not saying you're not going to make mistakes. You're not going to do nothing crazy. You're not going to screw up. Because you will. You're not perfect. The only perfect person was Jesus. Fully God, fully man. So the thing that's so significant about this is that not only do we need to get our souls right, but which is your flesh, your body, but you really need to get your mind right as well. Get your heart right, get everything right. So when that time does come, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. It's just so amazing. And I'm just sitting here and I'm reflecting on a lot of things. And if some people saw you the way when they first saw you, they wouldn't believe it. But that's because you were ready. You were ready for that next season that you were going into. So for this episode, the most critical point is be ready, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I learned these lessons early on, like when I was back in Pop Warner. I'm talking about I was like 7, 8. I don't even remember my age, but we'll be in the huddle. Be like, we gonna stay ready so we don't gotta get all type of stuff. But I think it's so critical today, not just for a college student, but for everybody. Not just for the 19-year-old, not just for the 10-year-old, but for the 56-year-old. For the 56-year-old who still struggles with his identity. For the 56-year-old who's still asking for borrowed favors. For the 56-year-old who really don't know Jesus for real, but go to church every Sunday. This is not just for the children. This is for everybody. This story is for everybody. It's a word. But and when Matthew chapter 25 verses 1 through 13, if you wanted to follow along, and if not, then make sure that you read it afterwards, because no matter what somebody talks about and tells you, you should always want to reread on your own and learn more about it for yourself. So it begins like this. At that time, God's kingdom will be like 10 girls who went to wait for the bridegroom. Now, this is out of this book that I'm reading. So, of course, it's not going to look exactly like the Bible, but it's out of this. So I'm going to reread that again. At that time, God's kingdom will be like 10 girls who went to wait for the bridegroom. They took their lamps with them.
Bridegroom.
Okay. All right. We're gonna start for real now. All right. So it reads like this. At that time, God's kingdom will be like 10 girls who went to wait for the bridegroom. They took their lamps with them. Listen closely. 5 of the girls were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish girls took their lamps with them, but they did not take extra oil for the lamps. The wise girls took their lamps and more oil in jars. When the bridegroom was very late, the girls could not keep their eyes open, and they all fell asleep. At midnight, someone announced, "The bridegroom is coming. Come and meet him." Then all the girls woke up. They made their lamps ready, but the foolish girls said to the wise girls, "Give us some of your oil. The oil in our lamps is all gone." The wise girls answered, "No, the oil we have might not be enough for all of us, But go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves. So the foolish girls went to buy oil. While they were gone, the bridegroom came. The girls who were ready went in with the bridegroom to the wedding feast. Then the door was closed and locked. Next chapter portion of it reads like this. Later, the other girls came. They said, Sir, open the door to let us in. But the bridegroom answered, Certainly not. I don't even know you. And it closes like this. So always be ready. You don't know the day or the time when the Son of Man will come. All right. So I really wanted to talk about two key words. Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. So when we think about the words be ready, we hear all these times, at school, they always tell us to be early is to be on time.